You're now listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.
Hello, Rockies. This is Sarah Jane Maroney, your host, and welcome to the Week in Review for the fourth week of June in 2025. First up, in Douglas County, home rule measure has been defeated resoundingly, with 71% of the voters saying no and 29% saying yes. Douglas County Commissioner George Teal was the chief backer of the measure, and when he spoke to reporters, he said, quote, "The results right now, given what has been counted, are pretty definitive. We're moving too fast for the people of Douglas County, and the people of Douglas County are going to need more information," end quote. That means that Denver, Broomfield, Pitkin, and Weld are the only Colorado counties out of 64 of them that have home rule authority. As we previously reported, Camp Idrahaje, which comes from an old hymn with the name "I'd Rather Have Jesus," has been serving Christian kids ages 6 to 17 since 1948. They sued the state over these new regulations related to HB 251312 and won. The state decided to settle out of court and has updated the licensing regulations, clarifying that, quote, "Churches, synagogues, mosques, and any other place that is principally used for religious purposes are not considered places of public accommodation and thus are not beholden to gender identity rules," end quote. And they also agreed not to cite, suspend the license, or revoke the license, or otherwise take enforcement action against Idrahaje. They are thrilled and are going forward with the summer session for 2025. You'll recall that we previously reported the mayor of Palmer Lake, Glant Havener, resigned, and now newly appointed is Dennis Stern as mayor of Palmer Lake, and he will serve out the rest of that term, which is a year and a half. He was previously a trustee, and there was a vote 5-1 that Stern was the right fit for the interim role, taking over from the former mayor. Thus, the recall position against Dennis Stern as a trustee is null and void, but there are still recall positions against 2 of the trustees. In some heartwarming news, 3 of Colorado Springs Furry Protectors Canine unit officers received bullet and stab protective vests after a donation from a nonprofit charitable organization called Vested Interests in Canines. So our canine units will be extra protected in Colorado Springs. Despite pushback, ICE is still working in Colorado. 2 Iranian men were arrested in Colorado Springs. One of them had been ordered to leave the country in January of 1987. There were also 9 others arrested in Arizona and Texas. Denver traffic boards were hacked, and it was noticed at 6 p.m. on the 22nd of June that there was a message that said, quote, "Bring the heat, 4-letter expletive, ICE," end quote. Normally, traffic boards have innocent messages about road closed ahead or occasionally other information. And obviously, with a 4-letter expletive, that was not put up by the DOTI. The message boards belong to a contractor with the DOTI, and they were attempting to install safer ramps between Broadway and Interstate I-25, and someone hacked the controller boards and broke the lock on the sign. According to the Denver Police Department, no one reported the traffic board incident as a crime, and so they are not investigating it. On Monday, site preparation begins to build a 50-unit Sunrise at Shiloh Mesa apartment complex for low-income seniors. And this is on property that was donated by the Center for Strategic Ministry, which is affiliated with Woodman Valley Chapel. And the apartment complex will be located west of Woodman Valley Chapel's Woodman Heights location. The Housing Developmental Organization has 29 properties with 844 affordable housing units in El Paso and Teller counties. The Center for Strategic Ministry exists to identify needs in the communities and worked with Woodman Valley Chapel to determine how to best assist. It will have 12 units for people earning 30% of the area median income, and 18 units for 40% and 20 units for 50%. The other development that they did, the Atrium at Austin Bluffs, there's a wait list of more than 400 seniors needing the lowest levels of rent payment. The Department of Justice has recently asked Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold for quite a few pieces of election data. Any record required to be preserved under Title 52, Section 20701 of the U.S. Code requires retraining of records for elections involving federal offices. They also asked for all statutes, regulations, written guidance, internal policies, and database user manuals that set out procedures that Colorado has in place relating to the implementations of requirements of Title 52, Section 20701. A certification that no record required for preservation has been deleted, destroyed, or altered from its original format. And finally, they also asked Jena Griswold's office to preserve any records relating to November 2020 election, if they are still in her custody. Secretary of State Griswold, however, says that the request for the data, election data from the Department of Justice, is nothing more than an attempt to, quote, push their ridiculous disinformation and lies to the American public, end quote. However, Jena Griswold's office has had quite a few inconsistencies and incompetence. In 2022, mailing out postcards to roughly 30,000 non-citizens, notifying them how they could register to vote. In 2024, there was leaked voting equipment passwords that a Teller County resident discovered after downloading a spreadsheet. And the passwords were in the spreadsheet, just color-coded to white. And all you had to do was change the color, and there were all the passwords. And she's been repeatedly criticized for her inability to keep staff. And a little closer to home, finally, El Paso County has reached the design phase with tentative plans expected at the end of 2025 with a major renewable water project. The loop is going to cycle surface water flowing south back up to northern El Paso County. The town of Monument and 2 water and sanitation districts currently making up the Loop Water Authority Board. Total estimated cost of the project is $200 million, and the design phase could give way to construction as early as fall 2026, or if that's too optimistic, it might be the second quarter of 2027. The target completion date, however, is 2030 to 2032. And those are the top stories from the 4th week of June in 2025. Thanks for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.